The next company on deck is Desert Gold Inc. Now, they are rewriting the rules of gold exploration and turning every single challenge they face into an opportunity. Now, Jared Scharf is the pilot of this vision with relentless focus and results that speak louder than words. Desert Gold moves faster, they think bigger, and they uncover what others are missing. So buckle up, because this is pure precision, raw innovation, and real impact in the gold space. Jared, welcome to IIF. The spotlight is all yours. Oh, you're muted there, Jared. There we go.
Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
It's great to see you. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, I'm passing it over to you. The storyboard is all yours.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Jared Scharf. I'm the president and CEO of Desert Gold Ventures. We are a West African gold exploration and development company. We've been in the region exclusively since 2015, although we did get our first piece of property all the way back in 2011. The company has two projects in the region, both regional scale and size. We have a little over 730 square kilometers of ground. Our anchor project, our flagship project, is called the Senegal Mali Shear Zone project. It's a 440 square kilometer contiguous land package located in something called the Kenyeba window of the Birimian Greenstone Belt in West Africa. The Kenyeba window is give or take about a 50 million ounce belt. There are at least 8 producing mines in the belt. A lot of the big boys are operating there. Endeavor, Allied, Barrick, B2, just to name a few. There's also a number of exploration companies actively involved in the exploration and development of significant gold deposits. There's also a long history of M&A in this belt. There's been a number of major high-profile material transactions over the last 10, 15 years, which I'll get into. So the Senegal Mali Shear Zone project is located really in the heart of this belt, and I'll show you a couple of images to really emphasize that point for you. At the moment, the project, like I said, it's 440 square kilometers. There's a little over 1.22 million ounces of gold combined, measured, indicated, and inferred resources. We most recently published a preliminary economic assessment on some of the oxide portion of the resources of this project. The oxide meaning the near to at surface free digging gold. It represents very easy mineable low hanging fruit for us to fast track into mining and to generate significant cash flow. And I'll go through all of that in a bit more detail as we go along, as well as discuss our new project in Ivory Coast. So a quick look at corporate snapshot of the company. Non-diluted, we have 258 million issued and outstanding shares, options to management directors and arm's length party of the company totaling 12.3 million, and outstanding warrants of 31.7 million for fully diluted of 302.1. The warrant schedule you can see down on the lower left. We've got some material shareholders. Management owns a large chunk. Merck Investments, a institution out of the US, operated and headed by Axel Merck, a very well-known German investor. Grand Peak Capital, an asset management group out of Vancouver, associated with our chairman, also owns 5%. Leith Jones Gable, Canadian retail brokerage. Ross Beatty, household name to many, chairman of Pan American Silver, majority shareholder of Equinox Gold. Sodnaf International, African Investment Group. Lucky Holdings, another company associated with our chairman. It's worth noting our chairman is a very material shareholder in the company, as are his family and investor network. And Elemental Altus Royalties, which was previously Altus until they merged with Elemental. So myself, I've been involved with the company since 2011. In its previous life, Desert Gold was a joint venture partner on a project in Nevada called Gold Banks with Kinross. The project we thought was lacking in certain key areas, so we really started looking further abroad, and that's really how we started focusing in West Africa. And it became abundantly clear to us that the region there was just so much opportunity. One of the last few places in the world where you can still make multi-million ounce discoveries at surface. And I think the new project Tiegba in Ivory Coast is a perfect example of this, and we'll get into that in a bit as well. Some key technical individuals, Ty McGee, Doug Engdahl are two qualified people who sit at the board and as an advisor. Ousmane Sheikh Diallo is our VP of Exploration, former Barrick Gold, former Acacia, 15 plus years of exploration and development experience in the Birimian Greenstone Belt and within the Kinyeba window. So a little bit about Mali. You've probably seen some negative headlines about Mali over the last 3 or 4 years. But the truth is Mali has been the third or fourth largest gold producing country on the African continent for well over 20 years. The gold endowment in the country is massive. It's why all the big boys are there. Even with its long, rich history of mining, huge parts of the gold endowment and the let's call it the regional gold areas remain underexplored to not explored at all. There still is massive opportunity for major discovery, and for the ability to develop very large commercial mines. And we'll show you in this presentation why that's so evident. So this image is a really important one. It really kind of conveys the Desert Gold play in Mali. So this is a snapshot of the Kinyeba window, or most of it anyways. And the Kinyeba window, there are two regional shear zones that cut through it that really structurally control all the major gold deposits in the belt. Starting on the northern end of the image in the gold hue, going essentially south, is the Senegal-Mali shear zone. This is the major shear zone that cuts straight through the belt. It's what our project is named after. And then the secondary structure is something called the main transcurrent, and that starts in Mali, and then it dips west and goes into Senegal on the other side of the Falémé River here, which you can see on the map. So on the northern end of the Senegal-Mali shear zone, you can see Allied's Sadiola mine. They're upgrading that plant. They're doing ongoing exploration and development. They're finding more gold. They're finding more oxide, and they are upgrading the plant so that they can go after what's known as Sadiola Deeps, which is the deeper deeper sulfide portion of the deposit. There's still over 7 million ounces of reserves there. Yatela, which was a little over 3 million ounces, has been mined out. But even with as long as those projects have been in the belt, they're still making new discovery and finding new gold. Our property, the Senegal-Mali Shear Zone project, abuts the southern part of Allied's concession, and we control the next 40 kilometers of strike extent along the Senegal-Mali Shear Zone. Like I said, overall, it's 440 square kilometers of contiguous ground. We control 11 kilometers of strike extent of the main transcurrent. And then we control all this really interesting ground in between where these two structures seem to sort of converge. Really what you're looking for are cracks and breaks and rotations in this structure, other intrusions or structures that are cross-cutting it. This creates essentially fractures in the earth, space for hydrothermal fluids to permeate and occupy these cracks and essentially create gold deposits. And going further south along the Senegal-Mali Shear, you have Barrick's Loulo-Gounkoto mine complex, one of the greatest discoveries made in all of West Africa in the last 40 years. All told, it's over 15 million ounces of combined reserves, resources, past production. It's still producing over 700,000 ounces a year. it's one of Barrick's preeminent deposits in their portfolio. A little to the east is Algom Resources Tabakoto Segala mine. That was a little over 3 million ounces. Previously, it belonged to Avian Gold until they were purchased by Nevsum for a little over 400 million in 2012. And that's probably worth noting as well. Loulo-Gounkoto was previously Randgold's flagship asset until Barrick bought them in a multi-billion-dollar transaction. So again, a lot of M&A in this belt. Going a little further south along the belt, you've got B2Gold's flagship asset, the Fekola deposit, a little over 7 million ounces. It's open, it's growing, it's going to get bigger. They produced roughly 600,000 ounces there last year. They're upgrading their plant, their equipment, their infrastructure. They're spending a lot of money on exploration, brownfield. That mine's going to be producing for a long time, and it's going to get bigger. And then in the southern part of the belt, just as you dip into Guinea, you've got Managem's Boto Diaka group of deposits. That's a little over 2 million ounces, not yet into production, but it looks promising. And then going west along the main transcurrent, you've got Endeavor's Massawa Sabodala Gora group of mines, 3 producing mines, nearly 10 million ounces of resources, reserves, and past production. This was previously Teranga's company builder until they were bought by Endeavor in a $1 billion plus transaction. Further south along the belt is Resolute's Mako mine. I believe it's between 2 to 3 million ounces. Producing one of their major flagship assets. So I think one of the most distinguishing factors of Desert Gold is we as a exploration company with a give or take $20 million market cap, we have a outsized footprint in this belt for how small we are as a company. And that is one of the major distinguishing factors is, a small company like us to control such a large part of this highly prized and highly sought after mine camp. And it took us nearly 10 years to consolidate this land package. A little history on some M&A in the belt. I won't go through this in excruciating detail. I kind of touched on some of the major transactions. You could sort of peruse this at your own leisure, but it really shows that there's some significant variability in the acquisition prices paid, depending on where you're at in the gold cycle, the size of the deposit, the grade of the deposit. But as a general rule of thumb, when mining companies find something, or junior exploration companies find something compelling in this part of the world, their shareholders are typically handsomely rewarded. So this is a plan view of the Senegal Mali Shear Zone project in Western Mali. And it's a bit of a technical image, but I'll just touch on the real highlights here. So the background is analytical signal magnetics. And really what this is showing you is the convergence of 2 very different rock packages. The red to the west are altered volcanics, and the blues to the east are sedimentary rock packages. And what you can see where these 2 major structures, or where these 2 major geological events occur, and the major shear zone, which is where we demarcated in the black dashed line, you can see the sheer concentration of gold anomalism proximal to this shear zone. Every purple dot you see is a golden soil anomaly greater than 200 part per billion, going all the way up to 16,000 part per billion, which is 16 grams per ton. And that's in an unbiased soil sample, not a biased grab sample. The yellow dots are 50 to 200 ppb gold. And, really what you're looking at here is nearly 40 kilometers of almost continuous gold anomaly at surface, with a huge concentration of it being proximal to the east side of the Senegal Mali Shear Zone. And it's no coincidence that when you look at where the majority of the major deposits and mines are located near the Senegal Mali Shear, they're proximal to it on the eastern side, with a few exceptions. The gray dashed line is the main transcurrent. And you can see that there is another concentration of gold anomalies proximal to the main transcurrent, as well as some fairly significant gold zones. And we've marked and highlighted for you with the black stars some of the major gold zones that have been discovered to date on the property by ourselves, but also by some of our predecessors who have done exploration work in the area. And the black and white boxes are where we have drill intercepts presented in terms of grade over width, with true thickness varying between sort of 70% all the way near to almost 100%. And I think it's worth highlighting that, when you have intercepts like a gram over 123 meters or 124 meters that are happening essentially from surface, these are very wide, broad gold zones that have economic widths and economic grades. And so there are a number of hotspots on this property package where we have gold zones, some of them contributing to the 1.2 million ounces. But we have over 30 gold zones on the property to date. Virtually all of them are open along strike and down to depth. And when you think that only 5 of the zones, there's only 5 of the 30 zones that contribute to the 1.2 million ounces, it's very evident to see just how much more upside this property can give. We're talking multi-million ounce, and I think that's consistent with what you see on the neighboring properties from a regional endowment perspective. The Senegal Mali Shear Zone, it's a big property package. It's located in one of the most idyllic geological settings you could ever wish for gold. And we're at 1.2 million ounces and counting. I think there's a fairly clear pathway to a multi-million ounce deposit here. So this is the current resource, a detailed breakdown by zone. Like I said, combined, it's all give or take about 1.22 million ounces. All these zones are open, like I said, along strike and to depth. And there are 18 or plus other zones on the property that haven't even factored into the resource yet, where we're encountering economic grades and economic widths. And I think it's only a matter of time until they contribute to a larger and even more robust resource. I'll just gloss over this, but this is a little bit about exploration strategy. When you have a property like this where there's such a proliferation of gold everywhere, being focused and prioritizing is extremely important. And so this is sort of how we systematically evaluate targets and move them up the priority chain. It's based on, economic viability, scale and size, and how we evaluate them for metallurgy. And there's other things that we do as well, but I'll leave this to you. This is a little bit about our proposed exploration program to follow up on the existing gold resource zones, but as well as fleshing out new resources. And, the yellow dots here are all air core holes. The red are diamond core holes, and the orange are reverse circulation holes, also known as RC. And you probably noticed some patterns emerging here. There's a 8-kilometer long northeast trend of almost continuous artisanal gold mineralization. And this is a very compelling trend that we need to follow up and drill out. There's also some other hot spots down here at an area called Mugia Far South, where we have 450,000 ounces. It's a massive area of gold mineralization, almost 5 kilometers long by 3 kilometers wide. And it looks like it could potentially be a multi-million ounce target on its own. So it requires a significant amount of follow-up. Zones like Urbasi West, West North, we really like. It's almost 4 kilometers long. Some of the gold mineralization is over 100 meters wide true width. That's a really wide, broad zone of mineralization. And so we really like that area as well. So there's some areas of focus that are emerging on this property package. And like I said, the core goal is to delineate a multi-million ounce prospect. We did finish a PEA in the last quarter, as I mentioned, to go over to evaluate mining oxide on the project. And the PEA came out positive at a $2,500 gold price. It had over a 35% IRR. At the current gold price, I mean, the payback on the mine CapEx is a year. The NPV is over 80 million USD. And when you factor that the PEA is only looking at 100,000 ounces, you're talking about 10% of the resources, less than 10% of the resources on the property. And the resources on the property are looking at less than 20% of the known gold zones on the property. And it gives you a real sense of the economic value that can potentially be taken from this property. And to close out on the PEA, where we stand right now is we're currently in negotiations to secure mine finance to build the mine. This is a fairly small mine. We can produce up to 1,200 tons. We can process up to 1,200 tons per day under our small mine lease, which is current and valid. We plan to start at an area called Barani. And like I said, it's free digging oxide gold, doing gravity and a small footprint CIL plant. And we're hoping to secure some type of funding package to start mine construction before the end of the calendar year. If we're successful in doing that, that will be a very material event for the company. So about a year ago, we started looking outside of Mali at other exploration opportunities in an effort to geographically diversify the company's portfolio. And we evaluated a number of projects in all over the region, basically. And it became very evident to us that Côte d'Ivoire was a special opportunity in a number of ways. First and foremost, the mining code and the politics are very receptive to the extractive industries. The Ivorian government recognizes that there's an immense opportunity to further develop their country if they structure a receptive and sensible mining code, and they've done so. And as a result, they've been seeing a lot of success. The one thing that I find incredibly interesting about Ivory Coast is that when you really look at it, it appears to be maybe 15, maybe 20 years behind countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, when it comes to the development of their gold industry. So although there are a number of producing mines in the belt, and you can see that on the image on the right-hand side of the country image on the right-hand side of this slide, this country is even more underexplored than places like Mali. Even though it's clearly incredibly prospective. It's right in the Birimian. It's the same type of rock packages, the same type of structurally controlled deposits. And it's just it's certain that Ivory Coast is going to have more discoveries are going to be come out of there. More mines are going to come online. So we really started focusing on Ivory Coast in a huge amount of detail in March. Our geological team, our geological staff went and spent a month there. I spent a couple of weeks there, and we evaluated over 1,600 square kilometers of projects in the belt. And really what we were looking for was something that was still pre-discovery, but not completely green field. And this is how we came across the Tiegba project. The Tiegba project is our new project. It's roughly 300 square kilometers. It's located on the Tahini Shear Zone, and it's in the region of the Allied Gold's Bonikro Agba group of mines and Perseus's Yaouré mine. So it's in a proven belt, and it was a piece of land that was previously controlled by Newcrest. And Newcrest were very active in this part of the world. They were first movers into Côte d'Ivoire many years ago, and their shareholders were rewarded handsomely as a result. The Tiegba license is large, like I said, and only about 20% of it has been explored. But what we immediately gravitated towards was this large golden soil, high tenor golden soil anomaly that was on the property. This work was done by Newcrest several years ago now, when they controlled a larger land package in the area. However, the remarkable thing about this, anomaly is they never had a chance to drill test it. And when I started this presentation by saying that there's still the ability, this is one of the last places in the world where you can still make multi-million ounce discoveries at surface. This is a perfect example of this. This is a 4 kilometer long by 2 kilometer wide golden soil anomaly that is in situ, meaning it's in place, it's real. We went and verified it, walked the mineralized trend that's never been drill tested. It's astonishing to me. And so what we're going to do here is pretty simple. And the reason why I like this story is it's binary. We're going to go drill this anomaly, we're going to make a discovery, or we're not. The Senegal Mali Shear Zone project, as a juxtaposition, is a 440 square kilometer land package where you have gold everywhere, and you've got 30 gold zones, and you've got mineralization going in different trends. It's a challenging and more complicated story geologically speaking. Although I think ultimately the rewards will be significant. This story, it just appears to be a big gold anomaly that follows a shear zone, which is very consistent with how these mineralized systems develop in this part of the world. So the approach is fairly straightforward. And by the way, this is the anomaly, this image on the left-hand side, presenting golden soil anomalies in terms of part per billion, just like on the Senegal Mali Shear Zone. So you've got golden soil anomalies running all the way up to a gram per ton. And so, simply you would do a little bit of mapping, do a little bit of trenching. We'll start this as soon as the rainy season ends, just to get a better idea of exactly how the mineralization is trending. And then once we have a reasonable amount of confidence in that, we'll go and we'll do some first pass fences of air core over these anomalies. And if we get some love in the air core fences, then we'll follow up with deeper RC holes. And if we have success, I think things will get very interesting in this area very, very quickly, because you've got companies like Allied who are mining here at Bonnie Crow, Agbois, Hire, and these mines are getting a little long in the tooth. And any new discovery made in this area is going to raise a lot of eyebrows of the companies that are operating here. So Senegal Mali Shear Zone project is the anchor project. It's over 1 million ounces and growing. We've got a PEA that I think shows unequivocally that we can mine the oxide and make serious money. And we're going to do everything we can to do that. And then with the Tiegba story, it's an earlier stage project, but there is a very compelling anomaly that represents the opportunity for potentially a brand new discovery, which fits perfectly with, Ivory Coast as an underdeveloped mining district. So we're really, really excited about this project, even though it's earlier stage. And that's kind of everything at the moment.
Jared, maybe wrap it up in just 2 sentences. Why is now the time to invest in Desert Gold Ventures?
Well, I think we have some major catalysts coming. First pass drilling at Tiegba, if we have success, it could change the game overnight. And regarding Mali, I think there's a clear pathway forward to add tremendous value. And, we're talking major cash flow, especially at these gold prices. So, yeah, that's what I would say as a general summary.